Yes. We are on. Okay. So, Mom, what are we doing here?
Well, it's that cold part of the year, and we're going to warm up with some encaustics tonight. Welcome to ARTspot's. Instead of Art Walk in Edmonds right now, we decided to do Art Watch because, you know, it's COVID. So Bryn and I basically quarantine and get to see each other.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, so we're maskless COVID buddies, and so anyway, I just don't want you to worry that we're going to, like, make each other sick or anything, because
Yeah. Neither of us have any symptoms or temperatures.
Yay!
Yay!
So we hope everyone out there is healthy and happy. But if you're climbing the walls a little bit, here's a really cool thing that a lot of people are interested in. It's encaustics. And encaustics is basically beeswax. So back in the day of over 3,000 years ago, you will have seen in Egypt people painting with, well, I guess I could pour a little bit of this out. Beeswax is the binder for pigment, and of course at that point in time they only had the natural earth pigments like ochres and umbers and different kinds of whites. But if you can kind of see that, I don't know if you can, but these are just little tiny pellets of beeswax. And as an artist, we're really lucky because beeswax has been produced by pharmaceutical companies for quite a while to coat pharmaceutical tablets, which most people just call a pill. So if you're ever thinking that encaustics are somehow unhealthy or toxic, just be thinking that you've probably ingested beeswax into your body. And then the temperatures that we're working at when we melt the beeswax is it's well under the temperatures that you would use to maybe bake a pasta dinner. So I like to equate it to, if you've ever worked in the kitchen, you've dealt with higher temperatures and pots of boiling water that are way more dangerous than our griddles with some melted wax. So just to reassure you, if you're kind of sensitive to fragrance, it does have a fragrance. It would be similar to something you might get with a candle.
A beeswax candle.
Yeah, so if you're a little sensitive to that, you know, just make sure you have a little airflow. Right now we are literally sitting on the sales floor for ARTspot, surrounded by brushes and fun things. So yeah, so if you're joining us, I'm Tracy Felix, and this is my daughter, Bryn Alberta.
Hello.
And we are going to play with a lot of the techniques that I've been teaching for years under the class title that I kind of came up with, called Renegade Encaustics. And the reason is because who wants to follow the rules, right? So I have some projects lined up, but if you came into ARTspot and bought some of the supplies, what you might have left with is a small little hot stick from Encaustic's company, and this is just pure beeswax, and it has a little bit of damar resin in it, a small ratio of damar, just to give the wax a little bit more of a harder finish when it cures. Basically, it cools down and sits around for a few days. It'll kind of cure and get its final kind of finish to it. Yeah. So this is made by Encausticos out of New York State. They also make another product called wax snaps, and this is going to be 3 little segments of the same kind of products that you might have purchased. And if you're making your product or project tonight with these guys, you can actually just break off one if you want. This is another company, R&F. They make really nice, beautiful colors, and if you're going to go into metallics, the R&F metallics are my personal favorites. They're just gorgeous. And then along with the hot sticks and the wax snaps, both of those lines come in every single color that you can imagine, so we're going to play with some colors tonight too. I know that wasn't on the class list, but I'm going to show you what they can do, just so that if you decide you want to ramp up a little further and get some more, you know, like pretty colors.
Level up your encaustic, you know, kit.
Yeah. So if you got yourself some kind of a little tin, this is a tuna or a cat food tin. We had a little official tins that you could buy here at the store. So I'm going to put this on my griddle. This is just a basic pancake griddle. And you could even use like a little cup warmer or something like that. So if you're wanting to do the project tear around the house and come up with a griddle if you haven't done that yet. So,
Yeah.
because don't do anything like on the stove. That's not cool. But keep it at about a little bit under 200 degrees. And I have my tin like you have, and I have my hot stick like you have, and I'm going to put this in my little tin. You can see that in there. And by the time that's melted, hopefully yours will be melted too, and that's when we'll know that we can go with that.
Would putting your tin with the wax in a bowl of like really hot water, would that kind of gently warm it up too, or is that?
I was thinking somebody was going to ask me that.
I am asking you that because
Yeah.
I had a customer come in asking. I was like, oh, you'll need a griddle or a warmer, and she's like, I don't have either of those, and I was like, good luck. But she was asking me. I was like, that seems like it would work, but maybe not.
I have never ever heard of anybody doing that.
Okay.
You're talking like a double boiler for candy or something.
Yeah, or just like having a bowl of like real hot water and then
Yeah.
using that to kind of melt the wax.
Kind
of like how you would melt chocolate.
Every time I teach Renegade Encaustic, somebody will ask me something that kind of stumps me, and that one does a little bit, because I just wouldn't recommend it. I don't know of anybody that does that, but you know, a griddle is $20, and the little cup warmers are maybe like $11. So
not a huge investment.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say, but with any kind of new medium, you do have to get some specialty products sometimes. So.
All right then.
Yeah.
Just asking for a friend.
What did you tell her to go ahead and?
I said maybe.
Okay.
I said I am learning along.
Make no promises.
I said I am learning encaustics along with you. I don't know. I said to me that seems like it would work. Like it's like I've melted chocolate before that way, and so I was like maybe, but you know. Yeah. There's only one way to find out. Oh, we're getting some little questions. Oh, the braiding is microscopic.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
You're going to have to go over there and look.
All right, get ready for my face all big.
We have somebody watching. Who's watching us?
Oh, my God. Dad's watching.
Hi, Dad.
Oh, and then Janice.
Her dad.
Janice Rose says, could you microwave the wax?
No, don't do that.
Okay, no microwaving.
No.
Why not? Will it explode? Or just not heat evenly?
I've never heard of anybody doing that, so... you could try it and write in, but you know, like they say, don't do this at home. Don't do. I don't think you should do that. It makes me nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been able to like melt butter evenly in the microwave.
I think probably one of the main reasons too that the microwave's not going to work is it's going to, even if it did work to melt the butter, I mean to melt the wax. Now you're dealing with a plastic container because you can't put the metal in the microwave, and then it's not going to stay melted.
Yeah.
You know?
Jeff Galbraith asked, do you use a thermometer to measure the temperature?
Ah, I do, because I don't trust these little dials on the $20 griddle. So this is basically a thing that you get at the hardware store next to where the it's hot, so I'm trying to pick it up with this thing. This is a little temperature gauge that you would put on a barbecue, and it is at this point reading 210. So actually I'm going to turn this down. I do have some melted wax already started on my griddle, but like I said, this is our test for when your setup will be ready at home. So I'm just going to turn this down a little bit. I do tend to baby my temperature. I start kind of low and then usually baby it up, but I might have done a little bit too much, so I can actually turn it down a little bit. I like to keep it at between 180 and 200. If you've got that cross breeze going, sometimes that cool air coming across might mean that you might have to up the temperature a little bit just to keep it melted, but you'll get a feel for it, and definitely if it starts smoking, you got to turn it way down. It doesn't need to be that hot.
All right, sounds good.
So. Okay, while we're waiting for our wax to melt, I thought maybe we could prep our boards, and I wanted to give you a little overview of the kinds of boards you can use. So, hand me a wood panel. So, what wax likes to be on is a rigid surface and an absorbent surface. So, the wood panels are perfect for this kind of a project. You can buy them with different depths. This is a 3/4. You can also get this up to 1.5 inches, and we have all these different sizes at ARTspot. They're very economical. So we'll be doing a project on this. Now hand me an MDF. There's some of that somewhere. Oh, here's some MDF. Okay, so MDF board is something that you can get at the hardware store too, but you want to get it at the art supply because ours does not have formaldehyde or any kind of icky resins holding it together. So this is an art product, and it's very inexpensive. This might cost like $1 or $2. So I've done a ton of encaustics on these, so that's happy.
Yeah, and they come with little pre-drilled hooks on the back, or like places for a hook, so they're easy to hang on the wall or put in a frame right after you're finished.
Like you said, like a little value add.
A little value add. Yeah.
If you want to go with the Cadillac version, you're going to want to look at maybe the white at the bottom there, the Encaustic board.
Yeah.
So Encaustic board is a cool product. It's basically kind of a MDF board, and then it's got this white surface on it, which you think it might be that gesso that you would get like on just standard canvas panels, but it's a special kind of white product that's made by R&F. They got together with the ampersand folks and created Encaustic board because their white support covering is absorbent and will the wax will adhere to it very happily.
Is that similar to like a watercolor ground at all?
You could maybe get away with a watercolor ground because that is absorbent, but you have to make sure that it's going to stick to the board really well because it's really kind of designed to stick to paper. I think you could maybe put a little gel medium, and when it's still tacky, then you could put down the watercolor ground.
Yeah.
Or maybe even pastel ground, but watercolor ground could work.
That could be an interesting experiment. Get a little 2x2 board and like do different grounds on it. Tell us what you find out if you ever try that. We'd love to know.
Yeah, that's where the Renegade comes in.
Yeah.
For sure. And those are the surfaces that we have to choose from tonight. So another thing that is absorbent is paper. And one of the funnest things to do is to do a collage on your board. So let's say you have some kind of a board that's not one of the ones we just mentioned, and it's
Oh, we have a question.
Oh, a question.
Lisa asked, can you use 100% beeswax?
Yes, you can. It won't have the Damar. It'll literally be 100% beeswax. And there's two kinds of versions. There's the kind that's filtered and filtered and filtered, so all the yellow gold color of the beeswax is filtered out. So that's more of a, they call it a white or a clear, but it's really going to still be very kind of that cloudy, ethereal look. And then there's the yellow beeswax that has retained its golden color, and that is going to look like this. It's going to be, see how that says yellow refined beeswax? That means there's no Damar resin. If it says medium, then that means it has the resin in it. If it just says beeswax, no resin. And you can intermix them, you can layer them on top of each other. You don't have to stay with one or the other. So, yeah, good question.
Great question, thank you. Keep them coming.
So I'm going to go ahead and do a collage on a board. And I'm going to walk you through that. But here's one that Bryn has already prepped. This is just torn pieces of color out of magazines and such. And we're going to use just acrylic gel medium as our adhesive to glue it on the board, but we're not going to put any gel on top. That way the paper stays absorbent, which is really exciting. Okay. So you've got a board selected, and I've got a board selected, I think. I think I'm going to do, excuse me, reaching across.
That's okay.
I've got this one, and then you
want me to
start a fresh one?
Yeah, I want to start a fresh one.
Yeah, so you can open one of these panels here.
Or I could do it on a little one and then demo, see if there's any, figure out what the differences are between the MDF and
in my classes, sometimes people ask, can you let any part of the wood show when you do a collage on it? And the answer is sure. You can just put a little bit of paper on it, or you can completely cover it. If you're doing something with encaustics and a collage, just keep in mind that whatever you put on there, the tiny little detail of the first layer of collage is going to get covered with wax, which is not transparent. So it's going to show, but it's going to be a bit, I like to say ethereal rather than cloudy.
Through the mists.
Through the mist of the encaustic.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I'm just going to lay my, my panel down on the piece of paper. And while I'm holding it down, I'm basically just going to hold it down tight and then tear around the edges, and now my piece of paper is exactly the right size. So I'm holding it down and the paper is now the right size. And it's got these little deckly edges from the messy tear, which makes me happy. I don't like the edges to be too perfect. The wax likes to grab onto it, and sometimes I'll leave it just hang over the edge a teeny tiny little bit, not a lot, because I think it's cool. You can do things just because you think they look cool, you know?
Mm-hmm. And if you think it doesn't look cool, then you can cover it up later.
Right. One thing about wax is literally you could take the art from the Egyptians that's 3,000 years old, and you could put new wax on it and update it. We wouldn't do that because they're in the Louvre right now, but you can always go back into your encaustics and change them once you learn more or have more techniques that you want to try. Okay, I'm just going to tear this off a little bit. So do you want to go ahead and squish some of that acrylic gel medium onto a little throwaway paper thing?
All right, this is a tiny paper plate, which is going to be our palette.
It's our glue plate.
Our glue plate.
A glue plate.
Yeah. Why put glue on a plate that you would then have to clean later? How much glue? That much glue? Is that too much?
A little bit more.
A little bit more.
I love you.
I love you too, Mom. It's nice to have this important talk about the birds and the bees together.
Well, she's married now, so.
I'm married now. So here is the amount of glue that we're using for the two of us. It's, I don't know, maybe you could get like a, how much is that? It's like a stack of quarters maybe, like maybe $1.25 in quarters.
You could put out a little bit and always add more.
Yeah.
Can't put it back in the tube though once it's out.
Nope.
So I'm basically just going to take some of this gel, which will be clear. This is a Princeton, they're over there, what do they call them?
Catalyst blade.
Catalyst blade. I'm just going to take and use my catalyst blade. Bryn's going to just use a cruddy old brush to add, basically glue hers down.
Thanks, Mom.
We could do one in a trade.
That's fine.
And I'm just doing it right on my board, and if any squishes out on the side, can you guys see what I'm doing okay? I hope so. We can see ourselves in the phone that we're filming from, so we're very tiny, so I'm trying to see what we look like. Okay.
Yeah. We're basically just applying a thin layer of adhesive gel medium to the back, just like how you would if you were doing like Mod Podge or a kid's craft project.
Yeah. But don't be generous with it. If you put too little and there's air bubbles, then you have a weak adherence, then the wax isn't going to be happy sticking to the top of that very well. So there's my goopy back, and I'm just going to put it on the board. So I can slide it around and kind of place it on my board where it looks good. You picked a yellow.
I did.
I'm still kind of in Valentine's Day mood. I picked a pink. And you're kind of in honey mode.
Yeah.
And you picked a golden color.
Well, the other colors I picked are kind of like purples and stuff, so this will be my contrasty background.
If you get a little bit of gel on the top by accident, it's not to worry, don't worry. Just kind of take your thumb and work the air bubbles out. And I made my paper just a little bit longer because I'm going to take advantage of that depth of my board and just take the paper down over the edge.
And I didn't bother doing that because my board is real thin.
The MDF boards, you can display those like on one of those little like cool little easels on a top, tabletop, or you can hang them on the wall. Encaustics are really happy in the bathroom because the moisture doesn't bother them.
I didn't know that. That's cool. All right.
Bathroom art, yeah.
Man, I have so much art in my bathroom. It's like the most art.
It should be a happy place. You looking for questions?
Susan gives us 2 little happy faces. Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, these are our two little happy faces here, right?
Okay, all right.
So I've got paper on my board. There's a little bit of wood showing through on the edges. I'm not really doing much with my edges. I'm not going to put wax on my edges. The wax is just going to be on the top. So there's that.
That looks cool.
And the next thing I want to do is I want to do another little something on the top of this. And I like contrast because contrast is good. That means a light and dark pattern that will make whatever you do next kind of pop out. I think I'm just going to make the shape of a bird.
Yeah?
Yeah. You know what I want to do though? I'm rethinking this. I kind of want to have this be the background. Look at that beautiful paper.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And then maybe use the paint to make the bird.
Mm.
So let me hand me that one right there.
Starting over.
Yeah. I'm gonna make I'm gonna make two. Let's see here.
I should have done this as my background.
This will be neat. This is really high texture paper,
Yeah.
and it'll really grab a lot of wax, but the texture will come through kind of neat.
Now, this paper that I have here has gold metallic on it, which I think is pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
If I put wax over it, is it going to get not shiny?
The wax is going to take away the shininess.
Aww.
So save your bling to last, and if we have some time at the end, I have a lot of things sitting aside over here that you can add bling. I've got mica powders, and I've got some different kinds of oil paints to maybe put some color on. So if you need some more, I just used up all the. I'm gonna let a couple of wrinkles show. I think a couple of wrinkles will make this look cool. But I still need to get it adhered really well. I like your sound effects.
Thank you. They are involuntary.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, is there some scissors there? Thanks. It's getting messy around here.
Yeah.
I even threw some things on the floor because I don't know where the garbage is. And
Garbage is right there.
not to worry. Threw it on the floor.
Haha.
So here is another board. See how fast you can do this? When I teach this in class, people sometimes use almost the whole class time just doing the collage. So just know that when you're doing this on your own time, you can spend all day doing the collage and then 2 days doing the wax. But I don't want to take up too much time. So I am going to take a darker color on my wood. I'm going to just basically tear that. So now I know that this is the same size as my board. So if I make a bird as big as I can on this piece of paper, I know it'll fit on here. So I'm just going to take a Sharpie. Trying to decide if they can see what we're doing.
Oh, looks like we got another question. Oh, Dad's asking. I did a collage for Grandma for Christmas, and Dad's asking what I did for that. That was Mod Podge. That was I did a collage earlier, and I used Mod Podge and magazine clippings for it. So, yeah.
I'm kind of winging it here, but I'm drawing a bird.
Winging it.
That was my little joke. Okay. So I drew this with Sharpie so you can kind of see, but I have a couple of lines there that I've redrawn a bit, but I'm just basically going to cut this out really quick and have my bird shape.
Can I use this paper too? I changed my mind on what color I wanted.
You have a little Valentine's mood left over too.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my bird tummy. I'm going to make the tail go right off the edge. Again, you are joining us for Renegade Encaustics at ARTspot. We're the independent art store, family-owned art store in Edmonds, Washington. And we are happy for you to join us tonight to watch us doing some little dinky projects with encaustic wax. And we're just starting out by adding some paper to our wood panels to give us a kind of a fun basis for the wax to go over. So there's my bird. Here's my panel. I'm just going to glue the bird on there. And I'll be working on this panel too, but I'm not going to do another thing over top of that, I don't think. Well, maybe I will. Maybe I will. Okay. Be decisive.
You can do whatever you like.
So I'm just adding some gel, clear gel, medium, on the back of the next layer of my collage. Try to make sure you cover the whole piece of paper because you don't want air bubbles. They end up looking like weird little wart bumps if they don't glue down very well. Do you know this kind of writing well enough to know which is up and which is down?
No, I just know it's Japanese.
Oh my gosh, I just don't want to get it upside down.
I think that's right. I think that's
got
correct.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. One can only try. Trying to make sure that's down really well. It's surprising how fast that adheres, and you don't really have to wait for it to dry too much. There's not really much gooiness to it that stays wet. We'll be able to forge ahead with our wax. So there we go. Edges. Some of the paper is wrapping down along the edges. It's kind of fine. Over to see Bryn. I'll go look and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, looks like we've gotten a couple of more.
Can they see each other's questions when they're watching?
I think they...
Nice bird! Thank you.
I
I asked a question, then I talked over you. What did you say?
Oh, I said I think they can see each other's questions.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And then Susan Lynn. Hi, Susan. Could you use Mod Podge to adhere the paper to the board? Yes. And we even had glue sticks out as an option for like a really inexpensive try it. So, you know, any kind of goopy, sticky stuff you have around, go ahead and give it a try. Once we start working with the wax, you may not go back into the acrylics, even though we're renegades. There's not a lot of things that will stick to wax once you've got wax down, so you really wouldn't want to take acrylic over top of it. But one thing that will go over top of it is oil paint and any kind of a shellac or alcohol inks, or we're going to do a little bit of mica powders and maybe some walnut ink. So there are some things, but they're
real specific.
Yeah. She's gooping up her bird there. Oh, that's going to be beautiful.
Thank you. Just
I have some little dinky. Oh, I thought this was cool. I'll put that on.
your bird is flying and my bird is sitting.
Mm-hmm. My bird's more ambitious. Your bird's more content. A lot of these papers I've gotten at workshops or just, I don't know, you know how you collect ephemera here and there, but we had a very generous workshop attendant a couple of years ago that shared some of these beautiful Japanese papers, and this is actually part of a newspaper. So I just really quickly put a few pieces of the Japanese newspaper down on top of the pink just to give myself a little something to work with later. And guess what, Bryn? The little wax
our
that
wax
we put
is
in
melted.
here. How is your wax looking at home? I hope it's melted. And this is our wax here. That's one wax snap of
Worth the wax?
yeah, of wax medium. So because I poured this out, this is my tiny little bits of pellets of wax. I'm just going to try to just use that up and put a little bit of that in there. So that'll be good. Stretch that out a little bit.
2 birds of a feather.
Like that.
Oh, somebody asked, are Holbein Aqua Duo oil paints okay, or does it have to be strictly oil paint?
You could try it. I wouldn't put it on too thick. We're going to be doing some incising, which is like basically we're going to be scratching into the wax with some different kinds of tools and then rubbing oil paint into it. So you could possibly, because it is made with linseed oil, it's just slightly modified. I bet it would be okay.
Maybe.
Okay. So this is literally one of my favorite brushes for encaustics. It's a fan brush and it's made by R&F, so it's bristle. And just the way they construct it, it's nice for encaustics to have a short handle. If you purchased a Hake brush, it has a really long handle. A lot of encaustic artists use those, but they'll literally like chop the handle off because long handles can be a little cumbersome sometimes with the
when you're working on a desk.
because most of the little pots you're using are little short things. So
Jeff asked, how do you clean your brushes?
well, this is what most artists do. They will have a palette. Just happen to have this here. This is an encaustic palette that basically just always has color in it, and each color has its own designated brush. So you can just put this on your griddle and wait for it to melt. It might take an hour or so. And then the wax will get melted, and then it will literally release the brush. So most of us are just too busy and important to spend a lot of time cleaning the brushes. So that's one answer that most people come to. But the way that you could clean a brush is you could just take the brush, lay it on your griddle, and just continually just keep kind of wiping off the wax that's in it. And then the very last step would be to get soy wax. And the soy wax is not the kind of a wax that you paint with. It's basically just to clean your brushes. So you would just keep, you could put a little soy wax in a cup like this, or just melt a little bit right on the griddle, and just keep kind of swishing it up in your brush. Keep wiping it off until all the color comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it might be more economical to just do plan A and have a designated brush for each color, because think about how much wax you end up wasting having to change colors. So if you have a color that you're never going to use again, you can get quite a bit of it out just by kind of melting the brush onto the griddle and just keep wiping it off with a paper towel. Bryn's almost done. So while she's finishing that up, I'm going to go ahead and put my first layer of wax on. So I just turned up my griddle a tiny little bit because I could see my wax was starting to... And because we have an art store, we have a bigger thing of medium that I've pre-melted. So this is a Richardson brush that's made with goat hair. Again, it's a natural hair brush. It has Encausticos wax medium, the same as what I have in this little tiny cup here.
And why is it important to use a natural bristle brush instead of a synthetic one?
Because the synthetics will curl up from the heat.
Gotcha.
And they really don't hold up to the heat of the wax. So here's my board. I'm just going to take some of the clear wax and just brush across there. And we're so used to paint having to dry, but what encaustic wax does is it just cools down, and it cools down very quickly.
Yeah, I'm going to move the camera closer for that next pass, because that's really cool to see.
I'm trying not to be too shy about the amount of wax I use, but I know a lot of you might just have that one little hot stick that you're kind of using, so just to get a feel for it and play a little bit. But see how cloudy it looks right now? It'll actually clear a little bit, especially over the next couple of days. As I say, I like to say it cures over the couple of days, but you can see, like, if you had put down a very high value item like a beautiful postage stamp that had tiny little detail, you'd want to wait until maybe you had done more layers of wax and then put something like that towards the top, because the more wax that I do and the more techniques I do, the more obliterated and hidden and mysterious the lower layers will be. So I'm going to go ahead and let Bryn go ahead and do the same thing to her.
I maybe got a little bit too excited and added too many details during my collage phase. I'm like, no, it's going to get covered up. It's so beautiful already.
It is a nice... Hey, did you get the key on the back of it? You know, there's that little key thing. Oh, did you do that on purpose or did you get lucky?
I mean, the truth is I got lucky, but of course I did it on purpose.
I usually forget to check.
Yeah, that didn't even kind of occur to me.
Any questions?
Ooh.
How do you clean your brushes? Two
That.
birds of a feather. Okay. Oh, my eyeball got in there. Are you having fun?
Yeah.
It smells good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's okay if you get little drips, and it's okay if some of the paper doesn't get wax on it and stays a little,
Did I put too much on?
No, it's okay. It's better to put a little bit too much on because you can always scrape it off. You never really want to be like a stingy artist. It always just makes your art look a little hesitant, I think.
Well, I think that, I mean, it instantly became cool.
So, if you've got some like weird bumps and things like that, you can take the most useful tool there is in the world, which is a straight top loop tool. We order these in special for Encaustics. They're kind of hard to find. Let's see here. Most of the loop tools you'll find are going to look like this. They're going to be made for ceramic artists, and I do keep these on hand. But this is really the one you want, because you're going to be scraping off some of that wax. I'll show you what that looks like. Very light touch. Very, very light touch. If you go too hard, it might gouge. But sometimes you might want to just take a little bit of that wax off. And because the bees work so hard to make this wax, we always save all the scrapings. This is a little scrapings pot. And this can be recycled into more art.
Yay!
Even if you get the colors mixed together. It's still beautiful pigment, and they all come out really nice. Okay, so what you want to do is, if there's, I would go ahead and put another layer on there if you want to.
Really?
I'll put another layer on here. The last time we did Art Watch, it was at my friend's Whitney Buckingham Beachy's studio, and we did encaustics, and we dipped in indigo, and that was fun. We did some tie-dye masks.
Yeah, you guys were busy. You did a lot.
Yeah, that's Whitney though. She's like an Energizer bunny. So just getting this a little bit more wax. Now, if you've done encaustics before, or if you've taken my classes, you would have seen another additional step for fusing, which is taking a heat gun or a torch and just going very lightly, not remelting, but just kind of ever so slightly just giving this a little bit of a hit so that it helps bind the wax to the surface underneath it, to the layer underneath it. And we're not doing that here.
Okay.
Because I figured it's not fair if you guys are trying to do this for the first time and you don't have that in your arsenal yet. You know, I had a friend that went to art school and they did encaustic for a couple of years. It was just at the very beginning of encaustics.
Yeah.
And they never fused anything, and she said a lot of her pieces, I mean, basically she said they were fine. So it's not, you know, super critical, but if you're going to get into this, you're going to need to get either a torch or a or a heat gun like from the hardware store.
Yeah, yeah.
RNF has a heat gun that costs about $85, and it's made specifically for encaustics. But I would say spend your money on the beautiful pigments.
Mm-hmm.
Always go for good brushes and good pigments.
Yeah. So on mine, I didn't get a real even coating. I can still see the raw paper kind of coming through.
But doesn't that look neat?
I like it.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, should I go over it again or call it good?
No, I think it's kind of neat.
Just so if you guys can kind of see how there's like the light parts with the wax. Oh, Lisa says, can you use oil paints after soaking some oil out on a paper towel to tint the wax?
Yeah, they do show that in books, and I've tried that. It's a little bit tedious, and the oil does kind of wick out onto the paper towels, and then you put the oil paint into your waxes, and the whole idea is to make it be less expensive. But I found that when I tried to do that, a lot of times the consistency of the encaustics was kind of gummy and a little weird, and every oil paint has a little bit different kind of an oiliness to it. So I decided not to spend my time doing that. I just, get the colors already pre-made like this, and I'm good to go. So they do show that, but I am going to show you an oil paint technique that I love. So if you have some oil paints on hand, we can definitely get you going on that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to put away my acrylics because we're done with that part.
So, where does the glue stick come in?
The glue stick would have been instead of using the acrylic gel medium for your glue. Gotcha.
So the glue stick, if you've got a glue stick, you could have just, glue stick down your little collage paper pieces. So, yeah.
Yeah, with the glue stick, I probably would use like maybe lighter weight papers because the wax can kind of soak into it so much it helps it stick down. But if you're using some of the thicker pieces, the glue stick might, you're asking the glue stick to work a little harder on those. So, you know what? There's always just try it and see what happens.
I like the scraping thing. I don't know. I'm just like, this is fun.
Yeah.
So keep scraping things off.
Next time you put some wax down, try this fan brush and see how you like that.
All right.
I'm going to go ahead and put some more down. I'm going to go in the opposite direction because I don't want all my brush strokes to go the same way.
Okay.
This one is a little bit heavier. It's the HD or heavier Damar, and it'll cure harder. So some artists will just use that as a final coat. It feels a little stickier. Do you think it feels different?
Yeah. I'm like, you can kind of get like, I'm kind of like playing with the brush stroke. So I want to get make it be like,
show up.
Make it be like the feathers.
Because we're going to be rubbing some oil paint in, and the oil paint will show off all those textures really nicely.
All right. It's hard to see, but I got some kind of swirls going like this, and I got a little swirl on the wing. So yeah, I think that'll be cool.
It's smelling good in here.
Yeah. I got my little Be Happy shirt on. I got my little bee, what is it called? Honeycomb necklace on. I am all about beeswax. I'm really excited about this.
So this is with another layer, and you see my bird's getting a little more obscured.
Oh, looks like we have another question.
Okay.
To do the fusing with the first wax layer is an emboss. Excuse me. This is from Susan, by the way. To do the fusing on the first wax layer, is an embossing gun okay to use, or a hairdryer?
Hair dryer, not so much, because it pushes the air out really hard, and it can blow everything all over the place. It kind of depends on the embossing gun. I don't know if they're all made the same, and I would go ahead and try it. I've heard some people have been successful with that, and for small scale work, I think it would be fine, and that's what this is. So if you're just familiarizing yourself with encaustics, you're going to need to get some wax, some brushes, and then you can slowly add the tools. So the next thing you might add would be a torch. You're going to want to get the Iwatani torch head. The only place I know to get them is on Amazon. As long as you get the rest of your art supplies here at ARTspot. But I can show you that torch head. darn. No, I didn't bring it. Iwatani.
Oh, Janice says, do you use encaustic over paintings, oil, or acrylic?
I have done, okay, so this is one of my renegade things. I've done encaustic over acrylic paintings as long as it's not on a canvas that's too flexible. It needs to be pretty sturdy. Again, remember that rigid and absorbent. So the acrylic surface is so incredibly not absorbent. So what I did was I painted over the whole thing with clear gesso. And a lot of people don't know about clear gesso, but it's a real cool thing because you can create a new surface, but you can still let the imagery show through from underneath. So you could try it. I've had some success with it. Same thing with an oil painting because an oil painting dries hard and not absorbent. So dry oil paint would need to also be prepped to absorb with an absorbent surface, which is that truthiness of the clear gesso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah. With the oil or the acrylic painting, you could also add some collage elements the way that we did here with the acrylic gel medium. And it could stick onto the painting. Now the paper is going to be absorbent, and then you could go over that whole thing with clear gesso too.
Yeah, yeah.
So mixed media is very much a big part of encaustic art. So one of my favorite things to do at this point is to do some incising, and I have a bunch of toys to play with. So this is kind of fun.
Ooh.
This is a thing that like chef people would do something with ravioli.
Yeah, this is how you would do the ravioli edges with it. Oh, that's cool. Oh man, it says Italy on it. I don't know if that's upside down or not.
This is a grout brush, so it's a wire brush.
This is a little standard double-bladed sculpting tool.
And then I also have, where is it? More scraping tools. So we can just use these two.
Okay.
And then I have, oh yeah, here. These are all different kinds of things that you can make impressions in the wax with. And the impressions don't really show up too much until we're going to rub oil paint in, wipe the oil paint off. And if you lived through the 70s, you might remember antiquing. It's kind of that same method. So this is one of my favorites because it's like a thing I got at some kind of a rummage sale as part of a chopper thing, but it's a whole series of blades that are parallel and you can go through.
Yeah. It looks like old kitchen gadgets, like all those things that they try to sell you to cut avocados with or whatever.
Cookie cutters, anything funky and metal. Go through your junk drawer at home. You'll have fun. You'll find things that you can use. You can look through here if you want to see if there's anything. So I'm basically just going to have a little fun. I've got this knife that's got this rough edge, and I'm going to go and follow some of the shapes of my, let's see if you can see it if I put it here, of my wings.
Oh, cool.
Make them look a little fluttery.
Yeah.
So you might not be able to see this yet, but it'll give something for the oil paint to dig into.
So I am going to go over kind of around the outline of my bird with the pasta roller.
The wax is still pretty tender from having just been applied, so you can really dig into it pretty good. I find that I like to do things, just you'll get a feel for it, like how much you can push it before you start tearing up your whole collage. Can you see, I don't know if you can see the little bit of scraping that I've done. It smells good.
Oh, Jana says, do you have any examples to show us of the colored wax that use the colored wax? Any of these kind of show that?
Yeah, okay, so I brought a couple of boards to show you of like really horrible starts. This is using color waxes through stencils. It's gone completely to the dark side of art. So I thought what might be kind of fun is to show you how you can bring back some kind of icky failed encaustic pieces, and that's why I brought this one. But that is done with all color waxes. So you can literally take color waxes. If you want to, you could just melt little bits of puddles onto your griddle, scoop them up with a brush, just like you would a normal palette, and then you can do a stroke or two, and then get some more warm melted stroke or two, and blend it and work it. I did a portraiture workshop a couple of years ago with Laura Murphy, and she was teaching us how to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so I just incised into my wax, and I was immediately filled with regret.
Why?
Because I don't like it. How can I like melt it to make it go away? Should I add more wax to fill it in?
Yeah, just put some wax over it.
Okay.
And then you can also scrape it too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My favorite thing,
Yeah.
scraping away
But
my
the thing is, it's actually, I think it's kind of cool looking because it looks like little...
I like this, but I don't like that.
Okay. Well, it's your art, so you get to pick what you like and what you don't.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You're like, why? And I'm like, because I don't like it.
I liked it. I'll do some scraping in this too. I like a 2/3, 1/3 kind of a breakup. Do you want to use this one at all?
No.
I'll put this one away.
So this is working great. I'm just using this loop tool to like scrape out the little pasta rollies that I decided is too much. And then I'm going to fill it back in with better ideas.
So next thing is so this is a collection of super cheap, nasty, old oil paint that if you've got stuff laying around your studio, you might as well use that up if you want. Don't use your beautiful paints, just the little leftover stuff. But so just make sure that you can see this. I'm going to pick I think kind of a purpley reddish color might be kind of cool.
Oh, looks like we have another question.
Okay.
It says, thank you for bringing a rescue project. That's very helpful. Thanks, Susan.
That cap won't come off. I'll just pick a different blue. I've immediately changed my mind. I'm doing some blue. And when I do this, I oftentimes will take more than, like if I'm going to do blue, I'll use like maybe 2 or 3 blues. And they can kind of play together in a more interesting way than just doing all in solid one color. And I'm just putting just a little squirt right there. It doesn't, less is better. You can always add it, but if you get too much on there, it might be, messy and hard. It's not necessary. So actually I'm doing, these lids haven't been off for a while. I haven't been teaching for the entire 2020 because of COVID, and also I had decided to sort of take the year off from teaching, but I'm kind of missing it, and this is actually a nice thing to get to do a pretend class.
Pretend class.
Yeah. But you guys are real. You're real people. We're just not in the same room. It's COVID class. I'm trying to find like a alizarin crimson or a cool red. I might have
Here's
to.
vermilion.
Oh, I could try that. I think that's an orangey red.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awful.
Okay. Sorry.
If you have just the one color at home.
Oh, here's alizarin.
Oh, thank you. She's so handy to have around. Okay, I think the alizarin and the blue will look really pretty. So, got my gloves on, and I'm basically just going to rub the oil paint into all the little textures that I've created. And you might kind of feel like you're obliterating your art, but we're going to be wiping this back off again. It'll just be in the incised areas. I love the smell even of the oil paints.
Which blue did you end up getting the cap off?
I think it was the phthalo. Oh, here it is, ultramarine.
Okay. That sounds nice.
It's not just marine, it's ultramarine. So this is what we're going for. Just some elbow grease, paper towels, low tech. See how it's adding like a little bit of sheer color as well. If you don't have oil paint, it's okay, no problem. Try your duos if you have that. And just to do a little bit of an extra clean, I am looking for my walnut oil. You can also use canola oil. When I learned this technique, we were using mineral spirits, which is toxic and stinky. And I found it works just as well if you use a natural oil. So, where did I put that? I have everything handy.
I don't think I put it.
You have to find it for me.
What are you looking
so you
for?
can find everything. Oh, I'm looking for, I had a little tiny thing of walnut oil. Go ahead, finish what you're doing.
Is that it?
Oh no, that's the walnut ink.
It's walnut ink, my mistake.
Well, we'll just use a little more elbow grease. Get the rest of it off of there.
Oh, so, Leo C says, what if she has powdered pigments?
Technically, if you use powdered pigments, you really should not have them airborne. So if you're talking about the really fine pigments that you would use to make your own paint, again, I just can't really recommend them having them out loose, but we will be using some mica powders, which aren't quite as destructive if you get them in your lungs. You don't want to get anything in your lungs, even that, but they don't float around so easy in the air. But I think I would feel better if you embed your pigments in a little bit of walnut oil first and then rub it in. I think that would be the way to do it.
Great question.
Final answer. You just don't want to be sprinkling them and having them get all loose. So this one I am going to do white. One of the reasons it's nice to really try to get all that oil paint off of here is so that you can put more layers of wax and it'll stick on there really good. It'll stick better. Okay. Hey, Bryn, can you put the garbage over here so I can throw this thing in there? Do you need some paper towels?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like one step behind you.
Okay. It's kind of fun, especially when you're in a workshop, is seeing how everybody's projects are all turning out different, even though you're all using the same variety of materials.
Yeah, I'm not like trying to copy you, but I'm like, alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue are pretty colors. I want those ones too.
One of my favorite colors to do this with is white.
Mm-hmm.
Oop, the cap won't go on. In my Renegade classes, I always tell the people to keep the caps with the tubes because I found that I'll stay an extra hour after the class is over trying to match them up.
Mm.
So people were so nice about helping me out with stuff like that. Now I'm just rubbing white paint in. And you know, you don't have to put it everywhere. And another thing that you can also notice is if you just do a real light, you can actually hit the high spots with the paint too. I don't know, does that show up? Go ahead and start wiping that off.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
Did you like it better before?
Yeah. The red looks like blood. I'm like, no.
Just go over top of that with like an umber or a dark blue, and it'll fill in over top of the red and neutralize it a little.
I'm like, oh no, he's got a cut.
Okay, so because the white is also over top of my bird, I can take my scraper And maybe I can use this little smaller scraper to go back in and kind of help my bird show through a little bit more. If you're just joining us, we are Bryn, Alberto, and I'm Tracy Felix, and we are the family that has ARTspot here in Edmonds, Washington. We're literally on Main Street, USA, because our address is 408 Main Street. Edmonds, Washington, about 18 miles north of Seattle. And we are playing around with mixed media and encaustic paints.
So painting and collaging with beeswax.
We do have a really great selection of encaustics here because I'm an encaustic artist. I love buying some of my favorite products and colors and accoutrements, encaustic books, different kinds of boards and different kinds of tools that are hard to find. I think I'm only one of 5 stores in the country that carries the Encausticos hot tools, which are it's like a wood burning tool, and then you put on the end of it like a calligraphy pen that's specifically designed to dip in wax, or there's hot brushes made out of brass.
That's cool.
Yeah, and there's also like this little tiny funnel thing that you can write with, all while the hot tools are keeping the wax melted so you can continuously draw with those. So some fun stuff.
Oh, this is much better.
Oh, I like the yellow too. So I can actually go right back in here and do another layer of wax over top.
So I swapped out my alizarin for vermilion, and I added some yellow ochre, and I'm happier with this.
Let's see. Yeah, and you know what really makes this work is that the bird's head is dark against a light background.
Yeah.
So that bird head really pops.
Yeah. I wish some of this detail has kind of gotten obscured, but that's okay.
What happens with a lot of beginning artists is that you end up getting everything goes to the midtones and you lose a lot of your contrast.
Yeah. Yeah, my dark background is getting less and less dark because it's getting wax built up on it.
Okay. I think I'm going to take the oil paint away because you've got the idea.
Yeah.
If you like that. This is a really sheer, almost fabric-like paper that's kind of a pinkish color. And I am going to just put a little extra wax down here. And I'm going to add a little bit of that paper to where my bird is to help bring it out a little bit more. I'm just kind of guessing at that shape a little bit. And this paper is so sheer that I can literally just press it into the wax, which makes me happy.
Alright. So I scraped away a couple of the layers of the wax that was on my nice dark background, so now you can kind of see it a little bit better. My darks. Get my darks back. Oh, that's pretty. Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know I was going to do this, but it just occurred to me that it might be kind of neat.
You see me like squinting at my my little piece a lot, and it's because I'm like trying to see the values and see my darks, mediums, and lights. When you kind of squint, everything kind of blurs out, so you can kind of see if everything is kind of a mid-tone or not. So it's me like thinking critically at it, but it's also like me just trying to see what's going on. wax in my lap. All right, another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you make larger format pieces?
Yeah, I have done panels that are like, I did a 4 foot by 4 foot, and then I did a 4 foot by 2 foot diptych that was attached to another 2 foot by 2 foot, so that'd be 6 feet. You get to where you're, I had a really cool like metal thing that you'd normally use to make espresso or make the bubbly up foamy stuff.
Yeah.
And I put that on my griddle, and I completely filled it and melted wax into it, and then I poured it over the bigger surface, and then had larger tools to just spread it, and then a torch to get everything to lay down really nice. So look at the work of Daniela Wolf. Go online and just Google large scale encaustic work or encaustic art. It's incredible what people are thinking up to do, and there's just no end to it. And just when you think everything's been invented, there's some crazy new idea that somebody figures out. What Daniela Wolf does is she'll do like multiples of art. So you'll walk into a room and there'll be like 1,000 strings hanging down from the ceiling, and they all have little encaustic miniature pieces that are kind of suspended and moving in the air movement of the room. I can't remember. I do have her book here, and took a workshop with her, and the workshop was basically just like write anything you want to learn on the whiteboard, and then she'll demo it. And there wasn't anything somebody came up with that she didn't know how to do it.
That's cool.
I know. It was
That's
super
a bold move as a teacher.
Yeah, and then there was this big rummage sale happening down the street, so we would go shop and bring back all kinds of crazy wood things, and then do encaustics on them, and
neat.
it was pretty fun. So I just put some more lightweight paper over top of my bird shape. I'm just gonna, because it's so thin, when I go over it with wax, it just incorporates right into the painting. So my value problem is that everything's pretty light. There's not really a lot of dark, so I'll have to think about how to work with that.
I know you put the oil paints away, but then I came up with an idea.
Yeah.
So I needed them back.
What are you doing?
I made better texture for one of my wings, and then I'm like, well, when I wiped away a lot of the darker kind of colors, and I can use those to kind of maybe I can punch in some darker colors and get some more contrast.
Punching in. I like that. Very bold.
Thank you.
If you're going to go to all the trouble to be an artist, there's no sense being a wimpy artist. You might as well be bold, right?
Diaries of a Wimpy Artist.
We want to, it's that like that song in The King and I where she says, you just pretend to be brave, and then pretty soon you feel brave, and then, you know, like that.
Like that. See how it is better now?
Mm-hmm. One thing that Daniela taught us was if you're not liking the way something looks, just put more wax on it. It's the answer to everything, just more wax, more wax. And she didn't like work for one of the wax companies or anything, so she had no,
Yeah.
But I have found, more wax. So I'm going to put a little bit more wax on this one, and then I'm going to show you one of my other favorite techniques.
I like this carving situation. My training has a lot to do with sculpture, so I'm finding myself more comfortable with the sculpting tools, and like digging into it and scraping, and like those are all the techniques that I like.
The flower seemed like it would be kind of cool with the bird.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm going to do with my paintings, Bryn? I'm going to put them out in our kiosk to give them away in a couple of weeks, because we are going to turn our kiosk out in front of the store into a free little art studio. And it's kind of inspired by what's happening down in Seattle. There's a wonderful artist, and she created this free little art gallery, and people put little tiny pieces of art in it, and there's like little tiny people inside looking at the art.
Stacy
Mulroney. Yeah. And so people are bringing art and getting art and trading it out and just having a huge kick out of it. A lot of interaction with the artists. You know, like they're letting people know who the artists are that are contributing. But we're probably going to need to make a lot of small art to keep it going.
Keep it nice and full.
Yeah. So I just pressed some flowers in with the cookie cutter. Can you guys see? I don't know if you can see that at all. Probably not. I'm going to look at...
Oh! You okay?
Yeah. But I'm embarrassed, but I would like to point out we've had no wine tonight. Okay. I'm going to look at the...
Like,
did it just break?
It, like, completely
is
just no good anymore.
Oh, my God.
I'll get you a fresh chair. I'm so sorry, Mama.
Question. Free art swaps. Yep. Fake it till you make it. Absolutely. You bet. I love you guys. Now I'm kind of afraid to sit on this stool.
Yeah, I'll get you a better one.
No, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you.
So much excitement.
Well, it was great. When I was getting them set up, one of them, like, set up, like, super easy, and one of them was like, nope, I don't want to set up nicely. I'm going to be crazy and be weird. And I think that you ended up being on the crazy weird one.
Well, I'm glad I didn't,
I'm glad you didn't, like...
There's no blood. We're all good.
You have no hot wax spilled onto your head or something.
Right. It could have been way worse.
It could have been way worse.
Okay, so here's this wonderful thing called pan pastels, which is pretty much pure pigment. Somebody was asking me about pigment, and pan pastels are the closest thing to that are, it's not loose pigment, but it's got a tiny little bit of binder, and they incorporate beautifully into the wax of the encaustics. Now I'm taller, like the interview chair.
You've always been taller.
True. So normally I have these little spongy makeup things, but I don't have that, so I'm just going to use a little paper towel. You need more paper towel? Yeah. Oh, I know what would be really pretty too. This is an actual piece of lace. I'm laying it over top of my encaustic piece that's still kind of soft and tender. And I'm going to take some of this pink color, pan pastel, and I'm going to try to aim it like right where the bird is in my picture. And what I'm going for is I'm using the lace almost like a stencil.
That's cool.
And then sometimes just the incredible detail of that lace will come through into the wax. So I'm just kind of guessing. I can kind of see the bird through there, so I'm trying to aim it at the bird. And then I need to lay this down and just make a little space here to launch it where the wing is. Maybe a little purple mixed in.
Yeah. Seems like a good opportunity to like blend colors. Ooh.
So just kind of giving a little bit more punch to that color. And if I took my time a little bit more, I could get a little bit better detail. Sometimes when I've been doing classes and things, I'll stay a couple hours longer because I've got everything all set up, and everybody takes their work home and they're clearing out, and then I'll stay for a couple hours and just keep playing around with the pieces I started in the class. That's what happens, is you get so kind of sucked into the art process, and then you are in your zone and you don't even notice time passing. It's a really good feeling. So there's my bird. It would be nice to fuse this to really set that into the wax. Another thing I like to do with pan pastels kind of just like muddy up the edges a little bit, so it kind of antiques the edges. A little black and a little brown. Just kind of going around the edges a little bit to give it a little, I don't know, I always just think it gives it a little more, I don't know, you just get onto these things and then you do them and then they become part of your own artistic process. Sometimes you don't even know where they come from. You just make them up as you go. The more time you just spend like messing around in the studio, not even really worried about what your product is that you're making, you're just involved in the process, you can really discover some cool things if you just let yourself go a little bit.
I feel like I'm getting a little bit of my contrast.
Yeah. So some of this initial detail work, I want to go back in and kind of re-expose some of that and clean it up and show the edges of my bird a little bit more. So I'm kind of just going around the edges there. Another thing you can do too is, so I've kind of got a solid shape almost at this point. I can go back in with a detail tool and I can scrape away the color that's on top and like basically like maybe draw some eyes in. See that little tiny?
Oh yeah, look at that.
I don't know if you can see that, but it's like I can make little shapes in there. Another thing is I'm just putting a whole bunch of color right on that lace, and then I'm going to lay the lace down and press, and just the warmth of my hand can get that to transfer in to the wax. Oh, that did. Just a little bit of that.
Oh, nice.
So when you're doing work with encaustics, it's not just a matter of putting wax down, it's a matter of putting wax down, manipulating the wax, scraping the wax off, removing. So I'm just going to seal that in with a little bit more clear. So that got some pink on the, so here's an example of cleaning my brush. Some of that pink got transferred into my, onto the brush, and I don't want to put that color back into my wax medium, so I'm basically just going to clear a little bit of that off of there. That's pretty easy. Okay. I know that you don't have this with you at home, but I do want to tell you one of my favorite things and one of my favorite colors. It's called Neutral White. It's by R&F, and R&F makes these in smaller sizes and larger sizes, but this one here, this is a 104 mil. This will last you forever. And what you want to do with these pigmented waxes is use maybe 1/3 of the colored wax and then stretch it out with your wax medium. You can use wax medium or just the clear beeswax, because this is less expensive and this has so much pigment in it that if you do like a 2-to-1, it's almost like it's the same color as if you use it just like this. But you can get a little bit more mileage stretching your paints out like that. All the different colors will do that. But I'm going to show you my neutral white. And remember how I said I was going to try to salvage this piece right here? I'm just going to take some of my neutral white And I'm going to just paint over this whole piece that's just kind of a disaster.
I was not expecting you to say that.
Really?
Yeah.
I do this with my acrylic work too. It's like it'll just get so busy and so it's just like it's gotten past you know, where it's the imagery that is not going to pull together. So you can see I just went right over the whole thing with my beautiful neutral white. Zinc white, titanium white, they're really harsh whites, and those are the most popular whites. But this neutral white is a creamy, like French vanilla, and it's just luscious. So, are you wanting to mess around with these?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, so I'll set these aside. Okay, so this you can do on purpose as a technique, but I'm basically taking my failed piece that has really a lot of paint underneath it in different colors, and if I start scraping this back, see how the high points of the colors underneath start coming through?
It's like scratch board.
Yeah, but with wax.
But with wax.
I fell down.
You're fine.
You know, like when you're a little kid, you fall down, it's like, oh, get up, brush yourself off, you're okay. But when you're an adult, like, you have to tell people about it. Like, how are you today? I fell down today.
Yeah, you fell down in front of a live stream.
I know.
It's recorded for perpetuity.
That's just like hubris, just, you know, just gotta keep that hubris in check.
To be fair, it wasn't your fault.
Well, I have been eating a lot of ice cream lately.
That has nothing to do with the situation
maybe
at all.
Maybe that's too big for the stool.
No, that stool.
But I'm happy. I am happy, and I don't regret the ice cream at all.
The stool, like, wasn't built correctly. Like, it was.
Well, we've had them for 8 years. We bought them when we first opened ARTspot.
Yeah, like I told you when I was getting them set up, like one was weird, and I had to like kick it to get it to like unfold. So I'm sorry I accidentally gave you that one.
That's a gouge. That's a gouge. But you know what? It's like no one died. It's okay. It's just a gouge in the wax of this experimental art piece.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a little more aggressive so I can get down there to some cool stuff underneath showing through. Ooh, look at that.
Ooh, that's turning out neat. You're like excavating.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm gonna move the camera closer.
This piece
so
is getting way more interesting. Okay. All the wax is going into my little pot here. Needs to go. Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Kind of see what I'm doing here. Yeah, so much more interesting. Maybe I can turn this into sort of like a floral thing.
Oh.
Like
So you're kind of like drawing and carving at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lisa says that she just looked up the free little art gallery that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
She says, such a fabulous idea. That would be wonderful if you start one here in Edmonds.
Well, make us some little teeny encaustic pieces, and what I really love about the one in Seattle, it's just like the comments on our Instagram and everything. It just makes people so happy.
Yeah. What would you say our timeline is on that? Like trying getting it up in the next 2 weeks? Maybe?
I would say at the end of 2 weeks it'll be up.
Yeah. So it should be making its debut at the end of the month / beginning of March. Stay tuned on our social media for more announcements about our free little art gallery that we are going to be starting up.
Okay, so now I'm loving this. It's not all the way done yet, but can you see how scraping in reveals those darker colors underneath? It was all about putting the neutral white over top and also having a whole bunch of gunky layers.
Yeah.
already
Having
built
some
up.
interesting things to expose.
Yeah, so nothing really goes to waste. So that's one save. Here's another thing I wanted to show you as a save. This is started out as a collage. The collage papers are very much hiding under there. It's had some pan pastel work. It's had some thread wrapped across it. It's had some wax pushed through a stencil.
Ooh, are we going to do that tonight?
Yeah, let's do that next.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a whole collection of stencils here. These are TCW, the Crafters Workshop stencils. They're a heavy-duty plastic, and some of these stencils I've been doing 10 years of stencil work with hot wax, and they hold up beautifully. I have a lot of stencils here at ARTspot because some of the people that work here keep her away from the computer when it's time to order stencils because I ordered probably too many.
It's not true. One of each, please.
Ooh, look at that one. Looks like an amoeba.
Amoeba.
Anyway, you want to look through there and see if you can find something interesting?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so make sure that griddle shows. Oh, that's one nice thing about the gloves is that you don't burn yourself quite as bad. Just
burn the nitrile into your skin.
We're getting layers around here.
Layers on our artwork, layers on our desk.
Okay, I'm going to take red just because I think that you can see it really easily. And I am going to just melt it right on the griddle. I'm going to get a nice little gob of melted red wax. I am not going to use one of my brushes that I set aside special just to do wax medium because I try to keep those really pigment free. So then I get one of my other brushes that you can let it get gunky. I'm going to let that melt on the griddle for a second and soften up. It's got wax in it. I'm going to show them how I did that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I want this one.
Okay.
So just going to get a little more wax on here. I'm going to take my stencil and I'm going to press it into that now a little bit softer wax under there just to get a good contact. When you're using stencils, you want to try to hit a surface underneath that's pretty smooth so the stencil can make pretty good contact. I'm just doing some bright red so you'll be able to see that really well.
That looks so satisfying. It's like painting with lipstick or something.
It's Cad Red Light by Encausticos. And I also have some, this is a gold color. It's a metallic, kind of an opal. It's just really glowy.
Susan says, nice save on the white
scrapey
wax.
one?
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan.
Dad says, can anyone contribute to the little art gallery? If so, what size works?
Anything 8 by 10 and smaller. Like little miniature things. I know that a lot of people are doing the rock paintings. Okay.
Ooh.
So that is the stencil, and it's very dimensional.
Yeah. It's interesting because you can see the where she had done the flat red, and then she went over top of that with the metallic gold red, and you can see the two sitting on top of each other.
Just painting that over top of, and I'm not trying to get every little part of the stencil filled in perfectly. I kind of like some of them being a little softer. A soft focus. And one of my rules for stencils is when the wax is still kind of soft, it needs to be scraped off the stencil so that it's not too gunky for the next person to use. So I'm just going to clean that off a little bit. Save my wax. So this is all set up now to do the Encausticos. I'm sorry, the Neutral White by RNF. Not anything to do with Encausticos on that one. These colors are Encausticos. I'm starting to babble. It's an hour and a half in.
Mm-hmm.
Is everybody? Thank you guys for hanging in there with us. I'm going to do a little oil around here, and then I'm going to go in with overpaint it like the save.
Mm-hmm.
There's your...
Oh, that turned out cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's got little polka dots on him now. Little polka dot bird.
More wax. More wax. Just putting more wax on that. Look at that.
Ooh, drippy.
I'm having fun. I haven't been at my wax for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this would... we were gonna maybe go for like an hour and a half, but here we are.
I'm just gonna do a little scraping, and then I'm going to show you some bling touches here at the end with some Pearl X.
Oh, that's totally making it come together. What do you guys think? Better? I think it helps to find the shape of the bird.
Yeah. You gotta figure out something to do with his little beak.
Yeah, I've been kind of leaving it.
Oh, I know what you could do. You could take masking tape and go right around the edge of the beak, and then you could take either oil paint or pen pastels and like rub it into the wax there.
Okay.
And then once it's in there, you peel away the masking tape, and it will have kind of given you that clean edge.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, you could take one of these detail tools and you could scrape in like a little line.
Yeah.
For like where the beak is.
Yeah. It's like right there.
Yeah, so the folks at home might even have other ideas, and they're frustrated because they can't do their idea on your piece. But you know what? You can do all your ideas on your pieces. That's funky. What is that? Oh, it's a button. There was a button embedded in there. Look at that. Huh. I better make that more of a focal point because otherwise it looks kind of, it needs a reason. Okay, mica powder. We sell these in little tiny. You can buy them in really big containers, but this is my philosophy. A little bit goes a really long way. These mica powders, you can mix them in with watercolor. You can add it to a plain old acrylic or oil color and make it look a little more iridescent. Or you can just use them straight up. You can mix them pretty much with anything. But when you rub them into the wax, you just take your hand with the glove on and you just rub it in, and it'll incorporate itself in really nicely. But I figure it's better to have more colors than just one big thing of one color. Especially, like I said, if you get like 4 different kinds of gold and then use them in conjunction with each other, it gives a little bit more depth and interest than just having it be a flat one gold. These sell for like, what are they, $2.75, $3.75? Less than a cup of coffee. So I don't want to tap, tap, tap and get it all airborne. I'm just going to take my somewhat sticky finger, stick it in there. Sticks to my finger. And then I'm going to pick a place and put that in there. And the other thing you can do too is you could put like the stencil down. And you could use the stencil to create a design with the bling. If you wanted to. Ooh. Doesn't it just make it so much cooler?
No matter what I do, it always ends up turning into a little octopus tentacle. I love it. I think it's super cool.
It's octopus bird. basically just kind of rubbing that in. And I'll just let it be more organic. One can have an idea, and then there's what happens. It's weird because if you look at it from one angle, you don't see it at all, and then when the light hits it, it's just completely solid.
So I've got some bling on my bird at this point. Ooh, a question. Lisa says, if you spray an oil painting with archival varnish, could you do encaustic on top?
You would need to prep it. I would try the clear gesso, because you've created a not absorbent surface with the varnish. You know, it would also be kind of cool. Some artists have figured out that if they just give a piece of plexiglass a little bit of tooth, so you could take a little bit of sandpaper and just lightly take away the shine of the plexiglass, and then do encaustic on that. Can you imagine like putting that over top of your oil painting, and then you could do like layers and layers of plexiglass with collage or different things like in each layer, and had all this depth to it.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
So this is just kind of playing around with the mica powders, but see how they catch the light, and they can really augment the piece. I kind of obliterate. I don't really have a focal point. This is a nebulous piece, but I could always go back in with a little touch of like a little something something. Oh, this is what I saved. And I love old antique dictionaries, and this one has a parrot. Oh, look, there's a parrot.
Oh!
And there's another parrot on the back.
Oh, which parrot
I want to. Why can't they put them like on the same side so I could have both?
Oh,
dang it!
They didn't consult you when they printed the book.
So what happens with these really old? Oh, it says lovebird and love
You
beads.
have to put that on.
Oh my God!
It's so perfect.
Love charm, love child, love dart. Watch out for those love darts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lisa says, what about encaustic on top of unglazed ceramic?
Yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. I like how you think.
Lisa,
you're going.
You're doing great.
If you do that, can you please send us a picture of it? So this paper is so thin that it will pretty much just incorporate in to the wax. I'm going to just take a spoon and rub it in to the wax, and then I'm going to go over top of it with some more wax.
Excuse me, don't mind me.
To make it stick in there.
Oh, that looks cool.
So that's putting a bird right in there. I'm going to go over top of it with some clear wax. So Rick, do you think you might do some like little dinky watercolors, and then we could put them in the little museum or the little
art gallery?
I think you might do the art gallery more than an art studio maybe would be cool.
There we go.
And,
I got some more texture.
yeah, if you're kind of like a pyromaniac, this is a good medium for you.
I like how sculptural it's getting.
Yeah,
know?
it's really got some
Some cool 3D.
Building up some layers.
Yeah.
I'm going to take some thread and just wrap around here. I love doing that. Especially lining it up with the edges of things that are already on the board. You know what makes sense about all this iridescent with a tropical bird on here is tropical birds have those iridescent colors.
They do, yeah. It lends itself nicely.
At least the male birds do, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends.
So if I take a little bit more wax and get that thread to incorporate it in there. Just going to extend this white paper with a little white wax. That. Freeze frame. Haha. Okay. Scrape it. We got layers on our art, and we got layers on this table. Got a couple of globs that I don't need. Take those off. You know what I love are these little bubbly things that happen.
Yeah, those are cool.
If you want to, you can do thin layers of wax, and with each layer, you carefully scrape and scrape and scrape until it's perfectly smooth, and then another layer, and then scrape, and you can make this look like glass. It can be so smooth. Are there any other techniques that anybody would like us to specifically demo? Because I think our time is coming to a close.
Yeah. Do you guys have any last questions or things that you maybe have never seen before that you'd like for us to talk about again or anything? All right. Well, I think we're good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know that I learned a lot. This is my first encaustic piece. It's a little bird. I'm pretty excited about it. Oh, Lisa says, oh, so wonderful. Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully come back until Art Walk can be everyone coming down to Edmonds third Thursday. We're going to keep throwing out Art Watch and do some live demos, the studio visits and things like that. So, yay.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and enjoy doing some encaustics at home. Thanks so much.
Mwah.
Oh, we have one last question, I think. Do we kiss? Oh, do you buff it at the end?
Oh, yeah. Who said that? That's like a leading question.
Susan.
Susan, you are so awesome. Okay. At the end, you could just take a, like wait a day or two and then take a, just a soft t-shirt kind of material. If you want your piece to be shiny, you can buff it up. If you just like the way it looks the way it is, you don't have to do that. If 5 years from now it kind of gets cloudy looking over time, you can rebuff and it'll kind of take that cloudiness away and kind of clear itself up. So yeah, these are beautiful framed. You don't put glass over them. They're pretty hardy actually. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. Have a lovely night. And
thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.
Good night.
And